I love running this company. I love running it because of the people I deal with. There's such a great team of people.
From a career perspective, it's the best move I ever did. I'm enjoying the work. I'm currently on a project and booked for another project soon.
It's given me the opportunity to work with lots of different types of technology and explore some stuff that I maybe only dabbled in at university or before.
SSW is a company that makes enterprise software solutions, and that's what we do. We build software for clients on demand. We build bespoke solutions using the latest technology and the latest best practices.
I've been involved in the development of some mining software, been involved in the development of software for a legal firm, and everything in between there. Even in just under 2 years, I've been working across so many different projects.
We play as hard as we work. You know, it's just a really great place to come into, and I always look forward to coming to work.
So since I've been working here, I've really been pushed, and that's what I wanted. You come to a place where you're working with a team of just absolute weapons. We've got the best in the business here, and that's an exciting place to be.
The guys are very passionate about doing things right the first time. We share our best practices with the community and with our clients and with others. Using conferences, we speak at events, and also we have the SSW rules, which is a huge archive of the best way to do everything.
The management here is totally approachable. So if you have a better way of doing it, or you know of a better method, then everything is up for discussion. As an example, say authentication. So a lot of the guys are building authentication into their apps, and they've been through many different ways of doing that. So generally what ends up happening or coming from that is a discussion around what's the best way of doing it. And we come to a decision based on industry best practice, as well as our own experiences on what the best method and approach is. And that then turns into a rule that we have on our rules.ssw.com.au website.
What really defines this company and make it work is the fact that we have people that are able to share their knowledge and solve complex problems together. It's a wide variety of different clients, different structures, different sizes, different industries, and different technologies as well.
The world we live in now is just so many light years above the world that we were working with even 5 years ago. We get into lots of topics deeply, and it's fascinating how it all works and why it works. You know, we get paid to make fancy jigsaw puzzles.
Access granted.
Developing software is a unique opportunity to be creative and technical at the same time. It gives you the opportunity to solve problems. It gives you the opportunity to exercise and flex your mental muscles by solving problems and figuring things out, while also being creative.
You can feel that energy when you come into the office. There's a really good vibe and connection between everybody who works together here. It's really collaborative, and we even have the tools for doing that collaboration now as well through Microsoft Teams. We always try and team up in pairs where possible for client work. 2 heads are always better than one.
I believe being a developer, a good developer, is writing good quality code. But being a great consultant, which we are at SSW, is half-half between technical skills and communication. That's what makes us different on the market. That's what gives us our edge, because we're capable of not only doing great work in terms of technical skills, but also bringing value and bringing our insight based on our experience, saying, oh, to solve this problem, I would recommend you going that way or this way. And bringing that value, that strategic value to a client, and being able to phrase it, not only having it in your head, but phrasing it to give them options.
And we make sure that people are communicating internally with each other in a way that is professional and succinct, and we make sure that that's the way that we communicate with our customers as well.
And I want to show you a few ways that make email more useful.
People that want to improve their communication through public speaking can do that through the conferences that we're involved in. They can do it through SSW TV.
You might actually not need to go native, guys.
We have a lot of videos that kind of help get your face out there, to get your name out there. We also have a really good social media presence. We have a great marketing team that takes care of that.
We are client-facing all the time. There's no way to work at SSW and just be behind the desk and not talk to anyone. Every day you have to communicate. So that brings communication as a core skill of what you become. And some people develop it a way further, like by doing public speaking. We have awesome speakers. I think NDC videos prove that. We have awesome tech tips and even conferences given by SSW people. I think we had like 6 or 7 this year, so that's pretty huge.
One of the exciting things about working here is we're always on the bleeding edge of technology. We're always trying to reach out to those new projects. What are other people doing? What's the next best thing? I think Adam being a Microsoft Regional Director really gives us a bit of an edge in that regard as well, because he usually knows what's in the pipeline before other people do.
We've had many younger guys come through SSW, and in a few short years, they've become absolutely amazing developers.
You can have guys with just a few years of experience and they're building software that's affecting tens of thousands of users with some guidance of the software architects. It just works. Like, it's amazing. You build something and you test it that you can enter an order, and then all of a sudden you can enter thousands of orders like in seconds. It's just incredible. We couldn't do that a few years ago.
We have a couple of different ways that we socialise. Every lunchtime, we're killing each other in board games, which is always good.
It's interesting because those games, are about psychology. That's very interesting. You learn a lot about people.
The most exciting thing that we do is obviously our company retreats. We go away for a weekend after doing a brainstorming session on the Friday. We all work together as a group and work out, problems for the company itself. We always try and keep the activities a little bit different to make it a bit of fun.
It's just a great weekend all around.
People that come to work here want to be at that level of globally recognized expertise that some of the best guys at SSW are at. And even if you're not at that stage now, I think that a lot of people that come to work here are inspired by that.
A lot of clients come to us with maybe a general idea of what they want. And you can use your expertise and past experience to really inform their decisions and make sure that they're developing the best possible product. I really enjoy that part of it. I think that would be very satisfying for anyone who's been working on maintaining an old piece of software or maintaining an old system. If they could come and maybe work on some new greenfields projects and potentially influence the way that product comes out at the other end.
You can come up with cool designs, you can come up with new solutions, you can come up with elegant ways of solving problems that haven't really been done before, and plus you get to build something. And often the projects that we're engaged with, you get to build something that's going to make a difference.
People want more stuff automated, they want richer interfaces, they want bot interfaces. The architecture keeps expanding, the knowledge of Azure keeps growing. Like, I'm still learning. I'm still trying to get better. I'm still trying to make solutions quicker, more maintainable, cheaper, and there's a long way to go.
like true competitive personality only comes out on retreats. Like we go on a bushwalk, or we play tennis, or we go swimming, or we go go-karting, and all of a sudden he's just like, get out of the way!
Thank you very much for coming in, guys. I hope you all enjoyed your rides today, and I hope we see you all again, guys.
To SSW.
Hello, welcome to Newcastle Codes Group for August 2023. Kick off with, I have to click on it first and then, excellent. Kick off with a quick acknowledgement of country. We are meeting on the lands of the Awabakal and Warramai peoples. and would like to pay respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. Starting out with just a little bit of housekeeping. Bathrooms and fire exits are out through this door here, marked Control-Alt-Escape. For the bathrooms, you just need to walk upstairs. Sometimes the lights turn off. Don't worry, you haven't been locked in. We'd like you to connect with us, so you can find our website at ncg.asn.au. We are on Twitter, or whatever Twitter is called today. Is it Z, Y, F? Wherever it is. We're also on Meetup. I know all of you RSVP'd to help us plan out for our numbers, but that really does help us know how many drinks to buy, how much food to get, and how many chairs to set out. So thank you for that. We also want you to connect with us on Newy Slack. So you can find this at newww.ie, so kind of like the newie.com. This is a Slack community for Newcastle's tech community. You can go there, send a join request, that'll come through to me, and I'll add you in. We also need to thank our sponsors, of course. Safi Engineering have helped us put on the drinks, and SSW have provided this fantastic space, a full service streaming situation, really fully professional, as well as all the food. So thank you very much to Adam and the SSW crew. But we do need your help. We're always looking for people to speak, sponsor, host, and help out. So if you enjoy the Coders Group, the best thing you can do is come up to me later and say, I've got something that I can talk about. Doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes and it's just your journey starting to learn to code, or whether you want to do a deep dive into some technology you've been working on at work. Whatever it is, we want to hear about it. The fact that you're, I don't know what that means. The fact that you are here, that you're involved in the community, means that you have something to say, even if you don't think you do. Next month, we'll be having Cole Cornford come and talk something about security. So he runs Glass Security here in Newcastle. But this month, we have our barbarian Adam, who's here to talk about using ChatGPT and the best API ever. So that'll be exciting. I'll fetch him up in a minute. But while we are here, we are all weird meat sacks wandering around this planet, and we want you to be friendly. So make sure that you reach out to people standing around you. If someone's on their own, invite them over. If you are standing around talking to people, make space in your circle so someone can come join in and you can meet a new friend. But if you do have any problems, there is a code of conduct up on our website, ncg.asn.au, or you can come and talk to myself, Peter, or Alana, or John Roach. We're all here today. So if you do have a problem, come reach out to us and we'll try our best to make it right. But with that, I'll hand over to Matt here to talk about some of the tech news from the last month. I'll go chase up Adam. Thank you all.
Thanks, Clay. So we had a bit of tech news, and all my tabs have disappeared. Awesome. Yep, all my tabs disappeared. There we go. I'll get them back eventually. That's not the right one. No, my tabs actually disappeared. I left them there for too long. I'm trying out a new browser, and it is this awesome Arc browser, but unfortunately it's been nuking my tabs. I had it all set up to go, and now they're nuked. So that really sucks. But is anyone a Mac user here? Yep, lots of people. Apart from it nuking my tabs, it's actually a pretty cool browser. It's like Chromium under the hood, so you get to use the Chrome add-ins and stuff. And then profiles are a bit easier. It's got this air traffic control, so depending on the link you go in, it'll be routed to the correct profile. Usually you have to add extra programs to make that happen. So I'm enjoying that. Not that it killed a bunch of my tabs, which sucks. Since we're doing AI tonight, I thought I'd bring this one up. Sarah Silverman, the comedian, is suing OpenAI for plagiarizing her content. It was pretty interesting. Effectively, she's, from what I understand, her book has been part of the training been part of the training data, and so she's suing them as a result of that. So that'll be really interesting because it does impact what's happening with AI, with all the, if it's learning off the internet, what's available on the internet, even if it's a torrent, what's the implication behind that? Now, why did all my stuff go? That is really annoying. I had a whole bunch of cool stuff in there. All right. So what else happened recently? This morning, Azure, any Azure users? Some people, yes. You may have received an email this morning saying Microsoft are raising the prices 9% to align with the current currency, like the Australian US conversion. We're being billed in US dollars. So, things are going up in price. That's not to be unexpected nowadays. So that was a bit disappointing, but understandable. Other things that have come up, we had, the Elon Musk show. So he's the man that keeps on delivering every month in tech news. So he changed the name from Twitter to X, and that involves tearing down the Twitter sign, which was a thing. And then he put up a new Twitter sign. So he tore down the old one, and then he put up a new one, which was flashing Morse code. And you can see this is from someone's phone, and it's so bright, it's actually leaving a bit of a ghosting image on their camera. So that lasted for 24 hours, and then the city of San Francisco forced him to take it down because it was blinding neighbors. So that was a bit of fun. I don't know if he's doing it just for publicity, because he's just constantly in the news nowadays, which is crazy. So there we go. Yeah. So then that got pulled down pretty quickly afterwards. That's really sucky. I had a bunch of other stories. I guess the only other thing that I've got that's actually loading is we're running a clean architecture workshop in Sydney and online. That's next week, Monday and Tuesday, with Daniel McCain, Luke Parker doing presentations. They're talking about clean architecture, and it's a 2-day full-on, hands-on course. They've got a repo set up. They'll go through exercises. You learn a whole bunch of stuff with clean architecture. I think pretty much all of our projects nowadays are using some form of clean architecture out of the box. And we're finding it really good to standardize on a way of doing things. And as soon as a new developer joins, they just dive right in because everything's in the place where they expect it to be, which is really cool. That's all. Sorry? New Relic, yes. I completely forgot about that. That was a really good one. Okay, so anyone use New Relic? You have used it in the past. Okay, so New Relic, they were kind of acquired, but not acquired, for $6.5 billion cash money. So it's a cash deal by some this Francisco Partners. So it's a private equity firm. They're paying $6.5 billion for New Relic. So that's really interesting because the partner in question, if I shared it with my friends, and that means I've got the link, which is really good because it's a really interesting story, and it's like just today. So if we go over to X, so New Relic being acquired by a private equity firm, 5 months ago, New Relic put up a blog post about Sumo Logic because they were acquired by the same equity firm, saying, "Hey, make the switch to New Relic because you don't know what they're doing with these with the data on these private let me get the article because it's still on Web Archives, and that's important, which I'll get to in a sec. And Web Archives is, of course, very slow. Essentially, the article was about, hey, switch to New Relic because you don't know what they're going to do with your data. They got acquired by that partner, and now if you go to the article, it just redirects you to their homepage. So they've deleted the article from the past. It's a bit contentious. Read into it what you may. It may just be that they were bad-mouthing the people who just paid a lot of money for them, so they took it down. It could be there was some stuff behind it. I don't know. But the fact that they just redirect and not give a... So here we go. Here's the actual article. You may have seen recent news about the acquisition. You have an opportunity to review alternative observability solutions such as New Relic. So essentially, it's uncertainty and questions, especially around observability needs and data and a bunch of stuff. So it's interesting that that's come up. Previously, oh, now all my tabs come back. You can see them all here. Like I had them all. Like, hey, there's my Azure one, you know. Okay, so there was the switch to they got bought. They put out this article. Sumo Logic was purchased by this private equity firm as well. There's the article. Oh no, that's not the article. That's the article. And since Web Archives, Wayback Machine's giving me the URL, if I go and put that in, it just redirects me back to their homepage. That's a bit sus in my mind. They did originally just throw up a 404 page, so they literally just deleted it off their blog. I found that really interesting. But yeah, Azure raised their price. X put up the big sign, and then took it down. What else have we got? Oh yes, the cat emoji, the cat gif. So this is just this little comment here. This is currently in active development. Now, just to give you a bit of context, this is on the Microsoft Azure Service Bus repo. And this is the earliest issue on their repo to do with this, and that's a local development story around Azure Service Bus. It's from 2018, so it's a few years old. But supposedly this sort of request is like 7 or 11 years old, depending on who you speak to. And it's essentially, hey, we want a local dev story for Azure Service Bus, as opposed to requiring us to spin it up on the cloud to actually, develop against it. So they are looking at a local development story, which would be pretty cool. Anyone use Azure Service Bus? 1 person, 2 people? Yeah? Okay. Hopefully you get a local development story. No ETA on when it is, though, because it is a big product. That's all the news I've got. Is it really? Wasn't Threads? No. We did Threads last month. Oh, no. Last month, Threads was about, we had a release date and time.
Yeah. So July 5, just after our last meeting.
Like a day or 2 after, yeah. So we've got Threads. Anyone using Threads? 1 person?
Every 6 today or so.
Yeah. It's like Twitter, but not Twitter.
Yeah. Twitter, but less.
You can't search by hashtags or something like that. Yeah. So it's not really the same.
But it is only dark mode, which is the same as Twitter now, right?
Yeah, like all the X's coming in on Twitter, so they changed it everywhere. And I think you can't, it says tweet up there, but if you do, I'm not going to subscribe. Yeah, post. It's not, the button doesn't say tweet anymore, it says post. So there's still a bit of inconsistencies around it. Yeah. Any other interesting news? Shout it out.
You all started an AI company as well. XAI.
Yeah, Elon started an AI company, XAI. Which was funny because wasn't he part of OpenAI at the beginning? And now and then he said, no, we should stop AI development for 6 months so we can start to understand. And then he starts an AI company. Total Elon move. Yeah. He needs 6 months to catch up. Yeah, that's for sure. And I don't know if are Elon and Zuck having the cage match? You don't think they are?
Yeah. Elon's mum did say no.
Oh, okay. Zuck would destroy him.
Zuck would destroy him. He just sprayed to his blue belt, I think, the other day. That's not nothing.
It's not nothing. All right. Well, if there's no other news,
we'll page Adam.
Let's hear from Adam and learn some AI goodies.
Adam, ever the workaholic, is in the back room working up until the last minute for his talk.
I wonder what he did in his high school projects or his uni projects. If he was a last minute submitter or
Absolute last minute submitter. I reckon before Anastasia's on the scene, you got nothing done.
Anastasia's not denying it. No, shake of the head. Yes. We are ready for you.
Thank you. All right. Welcome, everyone. I'm madly doing a version 2. So tonight I'm going to be talking about rules to better ChatGPT. I have been doing many talks with many Microsoft technologies for a long time. I would say this is the coolest API I have ever seen. The fact that it's not just GPT on our phones and that we can do this for businesses is pretty special. I have been in Europe for a couple of months and I did this session at NDC. That's the biggest Microsoft conference in Europe. And so I showed it to all the Norwegians. It was super fun and they were super enthusiastic. And I educated all the Vikings. Now, just before the talk, I just had a plain PowerPoint. And if you've used Midjourney, you can see this image was just created out of the blue with no effort, and I don't even know how to use Photoshop, right? So that's the image side of it. The whole thing is really special. How many people here have used ChatGPT? All right, I am seeing one person without his hand up. We'll have to talk to him after. How many people here are using ChatGPT on a weekly basis? Okay, so that would be 70% of the room. How many people do use it probably close to a daily basis? And that's 70% as well. All right, so most people have got the message. I would tell you that the most important thing out of everything, here's a hot tip. Now, on your phone, the most important piece of screen real estate is your home page, right? Is that correct? Do you guard your home page carefully? Nothing makes it on there without careful consideration, and you move them off. Is that right? Or is that not everyone's got OCD or anything? But on that home page, there is a very, very important thing that should be next to WhatsApp and Messenger and all your chat programs. Microsoft Teams, of course. ChatGPT, that should be on your home page, and you can just stop using Google. All right, forget it. It's very, very good. In fact, you can even set up a shortcut. Okay, so let's just there's my favorite French man I just met. What city are you from? Okay, so you can set up a shortcut. So let's just say he's just come from Paris. You could say, so I'll just hold down my Siri. GPT mode.
Here's what I found.
You idiot. GPT mode.
What's the text?
I've just arrived from Paris, France, and I'm in Newcastle, New South Wales. What's the top 5 things to do? Be brief.
On it. Working on that.
It's using GPT-4. It's slow.
Welcome to Newcastle, New South Wales. Here are the top 5 things to do and see in the city. 1. Visit Newcastle beaches. Spend some time exploring the magnificent coastline and enjoy the beautiful beaches such as Nobby's Beach, Merrither Beach, and Bar Beach. You can relax on the sandy shores, take a dip in the ocean, or even try your hand at surfing. 2. Explore Newcastle Museum. Discover the fascinating
All right, you got the
history and
idea.
culture.
You can become the most annoying person in your family using that at dinner table continually. Of course, hasn't got the pronunciation correct, you know, but you knew it was Merriweather, didn't you? Yes, he's got the program. So you can also just install the app. And I should ask, how many people here are using GPT 3.5? Okay, so I think that's 20 or 30% of the room. How many are using ChatGPT 4? Okay, yeah, that's about 8%. How many people have no clue what I'm asking? Okay, just a few. Okay, just remember 3.5 is fast and stupid. And GPT-4 is slow but smart. Okay, that's all you have to remember. So it does cost you $20 a month, US, and it's the best investment you'll make, I think. So I could ask the same question here and I would get it in text, and that's the more normal way to use it. All right, we've done that. Here is how I have structured my talk. I'm going to go through some AI news. It's changing all the time. In fact, everything I said in Norway doesn't matter anymore. So they've all got the wrong information. You're going to get the right information. Then we're going to go through ChatGPT, and it's all about prompt engineering. Okay, how many people here are prompt engineer solid, like prompt engineering, fairly experts? We'd say like 4. Okay. The French guy, he doesn't mind admitting that. You are kind of bro. Oh, you're right. Okay. So the French guy is making blogs with ChatGPT using Australian slang. Awesome. Okay. Then I want to go through getting up to speed with GPT, the engine, and then I want to tell you about a whole new concept called embeddings. How many people know what embeddings are? Okay, 4 people. Okay, so, and then I want to talk about our rules bot and the path and the future of AI. All right, this is me. I'm the chief architect here at SSW. I'm a Microsoft regional director. There's a few of those in every country. I blog at adamcogan.com. And I also am a Viking these days. Well, I went to this Viking party. I have my horns. I even took my horns, put it on the stage when I was in Norway. They weren't as impressed. Apparently that's like boganish to do that. But anyway, I thought it was cool. Got me some kudos on the plane because I wore it on the plane. There I was. Anyway, can you cut that out of the video so it doesn't go on YouTube? Okay. And here is what we are going to use as our example. Now, I've been writing these rules for a long time. How many people have seen the SSW rules? All right, so maybe a quarter. I wrote the first, probably 30 or 40, and then most of the devs at SSW have been writing them. Since then, we have just surpassed 3,000 rules. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We're going to make a new policy every time we add one, we're going to delete one. All right, so we're going to talk about how to use that in a different way. Now, when I was in Norway, I did this video. I got one of the guys in the office. His name's Cookie. I need a video to talk the Norwegians into coming to Australia. So have a look at this. One minute.
G'day, g'day. Keita's mustard to see you down in the lucky country. Welcome to Australia. Let me show you around. I reckon yous are gonna love it here. Let's take a gander.
Oh, can we turn the mic up, guys? I'll turn up here. I'll try it.
Australia. Let me show you around. I reckon yous are gonna love it here. Let's take a gander. From Bunnings to Bondi, Daintree to desert, to a really big rock. Australia has something for everyone. You could visit the Opera House and take a walk along Sydney Harbour. Enjoy our unique wildlife while exploring our national parks. Then eat them. Go surfing in the Sunshine Coast or catch a tram in Melbourne's vibrant nightlife. Whatever you choose, we'll be ready to throw another snag on the barbie for yous. Australia, take a punt. Just don't be a.
I don't know how I passed that video. Anyway. All right. So if you like, we have this system where you can scan this, get a QR code, and at the end of the talk, I'm going to give you another QR code, and you get 500 points. And Seth and Camilla, they ship out these prizes. As you can see, I've got some bands myself and some other things. All right, let's talk about AI news first. And the first thing is you should be using the ChatGPT, but I would recommend using 4. And the reason, well, first of all, it's smarter and it gives you good answers. Just on the drive up, we were talking about an old court case. And we asked the guy in the, I'd just been to South Australia and we're talking about a court case that was famous over there called the Hindmarsh Bridge. And I wasn't sure about a fact and he looked it up, but there was nothing on there because he's using 3.5. I looked it up on mine. Of course, I had all the facts, right? So then it also has all these other things like real-time information with browsing, but the code interpreter is the most important one where you can give it a file, you can give it data, you can give it a PDF. It will translate that into graphs and, it's really useful. So you can say, here is, an Excel spreadsheet. Tell me what's in the Excel spreadsheet or tell me something. It'll just turn it into a graph. It will tell you, here's what you basically need to know. You can actually go to a company that you're thinking of investing, get their annual report, throw it in and give me an executive summary of the top 5 risks, the top 5 potential gains. It's pretty phenomenal, scarily phenomenal. You can also now give it what is called a custom instruction. We're going to talk about that a little bit later with the API, which is called a system message, which essentially just gives it context. So I watch Yuli in our office use ChatGPT a lot. So he's using ChatGPT all the time. Every time there is like he sees an optimization, like he potentially wants to see if there's a better way to structure something, give a client an answer, suggest things. Now, also, he might use it personally. He might say, hey, I'm in Newcastle. What's a good restaurant? Now he has a couple of kids, so he probably wants kid-friendly restaurant, not fine dining. His wife might not like spices. So rather than telling, when I did the first one where I said, I've just arrived from France, Paris, France. I'm in Newcastle. I would like that. If I had it already set up who I was or what my job was, etc., those questions would be much faster all the time. So I just took a screenshot of his. This is what he has. He says, my name is Ulysses McLaren. I live in Sydney, Australia. People call me Yuli. I was born here. I have 2 children, Azalea, born here, Darius, born here. I have a wife, Jasmine, born here. I am the general manager of SSW, a custom software development company with about 100 employees across 6 offices, Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, Newcastle, Hangzhou, and Strasbourg. So that answers a lot of his common scenario setups when he's asking it for coaching instructions and stuff like that. He actually uses it a lot for it's kind of his business coach. Okay, so that's useful. So I've already told you, install that ChatGPT app and put it on your home screen. The other thing you're going to see is Microsoft have gone heavy on OpenAI and all this AI stuff. It's in every single Office product now. You can use it to generate your PowerPoint. So for example, we are going to, our company is going to Melbourne on Friday. We do a brainstorming down there. We're spending the weekend there. We have always had this system where we form teams and we do something fun and cool, and then we present it at the end. But this year, they're presenting it by having the PowerPoint generated for them, right? So rather than having, a little team and there's one member who's going to make the PowerPoint ready, that's going to be auto-generated, right? And that's how we're presenting that. In this case, in the screenshot, as you can see, it's saying draft a proposal from yesterday's meeting with the client. here's all the notes from the meeting, draft me a rough proposal. You'd be surprised how good it is if you grab an email and you say, give me a suggested response. You probably shouldn't do that until you've formed your own opinion on what you're going to do, but it sometimes will fill in the holes. Okay. And you can say, and be funny. That might lighten the mood of the response. Okay. How many people here have tried Windows Copilot in Windows 11? Oh, no one. All right. Okay. So if you want, you can get Windows Copilot right now. I don't think it's the biggest thing in the world, but you can, in AI, sometimes it's hard finding settings and doing things. You might want to say, how do I increase the font size of my whole thing? Yeah, so it's going to be able to just ask normal. What's the question here? What are some meals I can make for my toddler? That's a weird question to ask Windows Copilot, but anyway. And GitHub Copilot is pretty essential. I'd say the majority of the devs at SSW are using this. There it is getting better and better. When you're working with Microsoft, I might, I'll just show you this little example so you can see kind of how that works.
I can never remember how to get the item from the rack.
So as you just hear, he's just typing a comment. So he's typing what he's trying to do, which often you, as a developer, you'll put comments what the method is. But if you write a comment of your intent, it will start trying to help you with IntelliSense.
Now, that's not what we want here, but if we give it a little bit more information like this, oh, yeah, it's on the body.
See how it automatically filled that in because it knows what you're trying to do. Now, C#, let's go to
Whenever
JavaScript.
I'm working in React, I tend to forget things like, how do I add an inline style to like an H1 tag? But what you can do is just add a comment with the control/ here and just say an H1 with inline style.
So again, now we're just typing a comment.
You don't even have to spell it right. And
it
there
fills
you go.
it in for you.
And it's super helpful in CSS.
So now we're in CSS. This is the bane of most developers' existence. He's got the preview down here with a few bullet points.
Never remembered how to highlight a list item when a user mouses over it, but Copilot knows, or things like I can never remember how to.
So he's got the hover now, so he could come down here, hover, and see that work.
How to get rid of the bullets in the list.
So he's going to get rid of these bullets in the list.
Again, you don't have to spell this correctly. Copilot knows. And finally, the thing that nobody can remember.
So what is he doing? Horizontally and vertically centering. Oh, so he wants to move these three into the center. You might not know the CSS for that. There it is. Done. Did you see it? Went into the center. So there you go. Pretty impressive. Obviously, you're going to, it would be, I guess, it's crazy good. I don't think it's going to be taking over anyone's job, but if you're not using it, it could. So it's important to get it. I guess if you had you wouldn't want to hire a developer that doesn't know how to code, but knows how to use Copilot, probably. But you probably, in many cases, wouldn't want to hire a developer that won't use it. If you got on a plane, you don't want to get a pilot who's not a pilot in there, but is good at using autopilot. But you probably would like your pilot to be using an autopilot. It's helpful. Any comments? I don't mind dissenters. Yes. Okay. Sorry, what's your name? Silva, our French man. He is asking, is the data shared? And the answer is, well, it goes into a database and gets better, which I guess is yes. And this is going to cause some real troubles. And I will tell you, I'll just go to, for us, so SSW terms. So this is what we did. And we wanted it to be very clear in our terms and conditions that we're using it. So what's this doing? This is the talk right now. We're in Inception. So you can go. Okay, so we put in our terms and conditions, got our informed our clients. The client authorizes SSW use artificial intelligence technology such as ChatGPT as SSW considers appropriate in the conduct of the work. The client must notify SSW if it does not wish to use it. Well, we did have a couple of clients that notified us, but not most. Okay, and that's the approach, I would say. Now that's not ironclad, but that is it's very important to tell the client what you're doing, and they have to accept the risk or not. Okay, it's above our pay grade, I guess. Any comments on that? Yes, sir. Do we own the code, the copyright of the code that's produced? Well, I'm not a lawyer, and I think that this battle is going to be fought, isn't it? It's not like people go to GitHub today and they copy code and they put it in, they modify bits and pieces. We're encouraging most of our clients to go open source. So we're doing more and more on GitHub than ever before. It's going to be a hairy path. Yeah, and your question, and I understand the intent behind it, is legit. We had this same problem with what do you do about music, with all the court cases that started coming up. What do you own? Like, do you own 4 chords? How are you allowed to improvise? Most songs are pretty bloody simple. A lot of code is pretty bloody simple. For these big edge cases, there's going to be legal battles about this stuff, So it's, you can see what Elon Musk is doing. He's saying, well, everybody stop doing AI for 6 months and it's dangerous, but he is now stopping anyone scraping Twitter, X, sorry, been renamed to X. Stop scraping that, but I'm releasing my own X, whatever, we don't know what it is just yet, but we know it's using the intelligence of all that. Those big companies are going to fight who owns what data, etc. Yeah, I think it's a mugs game if we get involved in all that. We've got to use what we can use at this moment. Any other comments? Okay, moving on. So I find this interesting. I'm in these meetings with Microsoft, and they're always trying to see how many suggestions are we providing that are being accepted by the developers. They keep wanting more and more. They suggest code and you take it. They suggest code and you take it. That's how because there's no point having IntelliSense if they're popping up stuff and you're ignoring. Otherwise, you end up with Clippy, which was super annoying and didn't do anything useful. And so they're always looking at these numbers. And now, if you look at the recent articles, they were looking at the code you'd written and tried to predict what to help you with, right? So now they have this fill in the middle paradigm where they look at the code you have and the code you're written, and you're writing a method in here. They're predicting with both sides now, okay? So that's, and of course, when they started doing that, the rates of acceptance went up a lot more, okay? AWS Code Whisperer. How many people in the room are interested in this one? Not Copilot, but Code Whisperer. No, okay, just a few, okay. So yes, there's going to be more and more of these tools, but if you're using GitHub and Copilot, it's supporting these languages. If you're doing Amazon, it's supporting these other ones. All right, so there's a few differences. If you're on AWS stack, there's some benefits with Code Whisperer. All right. Now, how many people have heard of Microsoft Fabric? Just a couple. Okay. Well, this isn't specifically what we're going to talk about tonight, but I did want to tell you because I thought this announcement was mind-blowing. Obviously, we work with databases all the time. at SSW, we've been building, warehouses for, the odd client here and there. But now they have released this, a data warehouse is typically like a normal big database with lots of relational data going into it that you can report off. Now they're kind of encouraging people businesses will have a lake. Everyone will have a lake. They've only just released it. I'll just play this just to give you an idea.
Microsoft Fabric, a unified data analytics platform. One product, one experience, one architecture, one business model. Unified data is stored in one lake, a SaaS data lake for the entire organization. Data is integrated and stored in an open format, allowing one copy to be used to train machine learning models, visualize data, and run SQL queries on the lake and data warehouse. A unified experience brings together all the tools data professionals need: pipelines for orchestrating data movement, experiments for training machine learning models, semantic models for defining key metrics, and much more. And for business users, Fabric brings together data for collaborating and doing ad hoc analysis in Microsoft 365. Unified governance, security, and compliance is built in for all your data. And with Copilot from Microsoft Fabric, AI helps everyone be more.
Okay, so this is pretty compelling. We're getting to the natural language querying across structured data, unstructured data.
More productive, whether it's writing SQL statements, building reports, or setting up automations based on triggers. All your data, all your teams, all in one.
All right. So I also wanted to show you this other little bit down here. This is going to be pretty important. When a company sets up a data warehouse or a lake, data lake, there's typically setting up all the infrastructure, the on-premise stuff. There's a week or two of just getting things going. And then you're talking about trying to analyze all the different places. So if you ever remember, how many people have done any Power BI work? Used Power BI, done? Okay, so when you get that up and running, like in the old days, you build a report, some type of Crystal report or reporting services report or, Telerik reports, they would be quite a bit of work to get going, to get installed, get up and running. Power BI was like a few minutes. You connect to Google Analytics, you connect to your data, wherever it is, whatever the marketing person is trying to do, connect to it, and they had data within, several minutes. This type of thing you're doing in the cloud, you have your one lake straight away. It's 5 minutes and you're up and running, and then it takes away that first couple of weeks, and then you've got all the time to find all your data and aggregate it. So I'll just play this.
Next generation AI in Microsoft Fabric empowers you to unlock the full potential of your data. With Copilot integrated into every data experience, Microsoft Fabric lets you use natural language to bring your data to life. From integrating data to writing code, to finding insights and creating reports, new transformative AI experiences work alongside you every step of the way, so you can stay focused on getting value from your data. Copilot helps turn your words into data flows and data pipelines, so you can intelligently integrate data from anywhere. When writing code, Copilot automatically suggests code and entire functions in real time. And Copilot can guide you to create machine learning models to unlock insights in your data. Just by chatting with Copilot, you can visually explore your data to create stunning reports, discover insights, and summarize your data into easy-to-understand text narratives for sharing. With Copilot, you can turn insight into action with triggers that monitor your data and notify users. You can even create your own custom natural language experiences that combine Azure OpenAI models and your organization's data, and easily publish your creations as plugins. And with your data in Fabric, Copilot provides insights and answers everywhere work gets done. Most importantly, Microsoft Cloud runs on trust.
All right. Anyway, that gives you a bit of an idea of the changes happening in the data world, which are pretty exciting. Now, I did find this interesting. There was a whole chat about why Microsoft got rid of a large team that was called Ethical AI, and I guess it's interesting for other companies to understand. But they said that they decided to disband one massive team that was tasked with doing ethical AI, and put team members in every single team, like the data team, the office team, you know, all the different products. So they said, you know, this is what we did when with, you know, privacy and security. We put an accessibility. So when Satya Nadella came head of Microsoft, he insisted accessibility was going to be like a core tenet. So he put a whole lot of people in a whole bunch of different teams, and everything had to be accessible and had to be top of the priority list. So anyway, that's, you know, if you're investing in this, you got to be testing and you got to be thinking about ethical AI, and it's a whole big topic. All right. So we're working with GPT-4. When's GPT-5 coming? And it all sounds scary if you see the difference between 3.5 and 4. What's happening with 5? Well, he just says there's no plans to release it anytime soon. So that's where we're at with that. Now, how many people have heard of Llama? Okay, almost half of you. So this is fascinating. Meta, the old Facebook, they've released this, and Llama is open source, which is weird because what was OpenAI? Closed source. Bizarre, right? So this is open source. It's yeah, amazing. Any thoughts on this? Anyone? Anyone tried it out? No, it's all right. Early days. Good to see competitors coming, and let's see what happens. And say again. It's offline. Yes. Yeah. Grab the mic if you can, so everybody can hear. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. And yeah, a whole bunch of different use cases. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm getting you to use the mic because there's a lot more people online than there are in this room. Okay, so Elon Musk renames Twitter to X, and then he stops everyone scraping his site, and it sounds like he's got some plans like WeChat cooking. If you've been in China, everybody uses WeChat. Everybody is taking micropayments. I was involved in a car crash in China. I saw them having a fight on the road about who was the worst driver. And then they did some transaction, and somebody held up a QR code, and someone transferred, you know, a couple of thousand yuan to the other person. And then they were smiling again. They got back in their car, and I thought, wow, what just happened then? And Jerry says, oh, we just estimated what the damage was. It was raining at the time. And I said, oh, you don't have to report that to the police? And he goes, no. I go, really? He goes, Adam, time is money. I go, all right, okay, time is money. So yeah, we would have to go through all our insurance stuff. Anyway, he wants to do something similar to that. So let's talk about using ChatGPT and being a prompt engineer. So you need this this website, and you need to ask it a question. So I just ask a question, what is NDC? It tells me what it is. Okay, gives you context. I have chicken in the fridge. I got chicken and broccoli and some milk. What can I make? And it will tell you what you can make. Okay. How do I fix this error? Null reference exception. Okay, it will tell you what that is. Now, that is not a very good way of asking a question. Okay, that is the bad way of asking a question. You don't say, how do I fix this error message? You say, whether you're a beginner or a senior. As a senior, I'm running my project in Visual Studio. I've got this error. Like, always give context of what you're doing, and it's going to be a lot faster to get there. Okay, and sometimes I've learned, do not say act as, because every now and then it tries to be funny. Okay, so it just says you are a senior engineer. Okay, Just be aware of these nuances. Don't say, isn't it true that electric cars are far better? You know, because you're influencing it, and it's so easy to be influenced. By the way, this AI stuff is so smart, but every now and then it's completely wrong and you don't know. And you get used to one of those smart people telling you stuff, and then it doesn't tell you the right answer. You go, is everything BS? Anyway, that's what it's, so don't ask that way. Just say, what are the environmental benefits and drawbacks of electric versus gasoline cars? Something like that. All right, here's the guts of making a question. So give it a role, act as a software senior. You know, give me 5 email subjects for this really important email that I'm going to send to a wide list throughout the company. The email is to all my developers at my company about a UX problem with search. The goal is to get them to watch this YouTube video I've recorded and give me feedback. Keep the subject to under 50 characters. That's the constraint. So role, result, context, intent, and constraint. Now, I should warn you that if you have marketing people in your company, they are really going to become prompt engineers. You're not going to write a lot of content from scratch. It's the end of any, you know how people get blocked and they can't think of what to do, like writer's block. That will never exist for any author. If you're going to be a content writer, you'll end up being a prompt engineer. If you're a social media manager, you'll be a prompt engineer. If you're a graphic designer, you're going to be using prompt engineering with DALL-E or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion. Every single person in our company is, well, most of them are .NET engineers, like 80, 90%. Every single one in the company has used one of these tools. Okay, we did an exercise, and it was funny looking at everybody's images, and the people that had the better prompts generally made the better images, but if they were using Midjourney, they were substantially better, broadly. Okay. If you're a sonographer, you'll be a prompt engineer. If you're a pop star, you're going to be a prompt engineer. If you're a software developer, you're going to be a prompt engineer. Okay. If you're a woodworker, you'll still be a woodworker. Okay. That's the safe job. I went in here thinking there's going to be a lot. You search for prompt engineer in Seek. We all love Seek. And there are no matching search results. For context, if I change prompt engineer to .NET developer, I get 2,000 jobs. So it won't be long before there's more prompt engineers than .NET developers. Okay, it's coming fast. Okay, so try some prompts and give it a role. You're a writing coach, or let's just say you're doing a GitHub action right now. You need help. You're a .NET developer trying to do this GitHub action. You're a GitHub actions expert. That's what you should start with. You're a C# code reviewer. I want to review my code before I show it to the others. So do that. You can say, ask me questions for needing context. You can, I usually almost say this, be concise or give me the top 10. So I like reading things in lists from my app. Use bullet points. For when it's generating content, I generally say tone informal. So otherwise it's too repetitive and it's too prim and proper. Doesn't feel like I have to make too many changes. Don't ask leading questions. Don't enter confidential information. That's a important one. It's going to be hard to control that one. Okay, chain your prompts in one go. Create a guide to AI, give a headline and teaser. Now create 5 subtopics. So, you just keep working with it until you get to the bit you want. And, once you understand, you put it all together and you'll get your answer. Okay. So, ask it in that style. It's not too dissimilar to SQL. Select from, where, inner join. So a couple of guys here have put together a cheat sheet. You can see that. You can go to our website, see that ChatGPT, and just download it and We put them in every toilet in every office. So when they're in there, they can be reading it. All right, so there you go. Now, we also made one for devs, because if you look at this, this is really just broadly for every person to work with. Every person working in an office should know this. You know, basically use the basics and then make a super prompt. By the way, this is just lingo we've invented, all right? So, but you need, for a dev edition, you need to use specific lingo to get it to give you methods to do things. And again, you can go to this URL and print off this PDF, okay? So a whole bunch of the SSW developers contributed to this. I think it's really important to get going with that. All right, and if you want to know more, we wrote some rules about prompt engineering. There's a whole bunch of them. You can talk to Seth up there. He was, coordinating a whole bunch of people to get this passed by a lot of people. There's 27 rules there. You can check your knowledge on it. All right, so let's talk about these rules. Now, we wrote these rules, which is what we use for every project. Now, you kind of need to know how to find the right rule, but we wanted to use this as an example to show our clients. Our clients typically are big companies that have a ton of data. They have sometimes multiple intranets. They've got sources of data everywhere. It's really hard to find stuff. And having a good search is good, but using something like ChatGPT is next level. Okay, and every company should have something like ChatGPT over their own data. So let's talk about, now ours is a little bit different. Ours is open sourced on GitHub. So all our content is in Markdown and it's here on GitHub. And but the way people use it is typically just searching for it and reading a rule, just the text, but we're going to talk about a different way of using it. All right. So actually, I might give you a quick demo, so you know. I got a link here to. I'll just. Oh. Where's the link to SSW rules? Not even here. Can't even see a link. Anyway, so. So the goal was, you can come through here and read about, I don't know, prompt engineering. Here it is. You can read about this rule. You can come in here and click on that rule and read about it and see if anybody's commented. That's the one we were just talking about, actually, coincidentally. And, you can comment on that. Now, what if you, instead of doing that, you didn't know if there was a rule there? Now, the example I'll use is, in our company, we often, if somebody makes a mistake, we tell them, send a version 2, all right? And they go, how do I send a version 2? Like, what exactly is that? They could try to find the rule, or they could say, how do I send a V2 email? Okay? Now, and we're going to talk about why this is running on 3.5 in a minute, but it will give you, and if you're logged in, you'll be on 4, but it will tell you what to do. This is what you do. You come in here and you do all this type of stuff. So that is, now if you want to read more and you don't fully understand that, you can click the link and you end up back on the content, okay? So, all right. So I need you to understand what GPT is, the engine underneath ChatGPT, okay? It's a large language model. You can say tell me what GPT is. It will say it's a transformer. You can, train it on a ton of text. It will basically predict the next word. So when it all comes down to it, it's, ChatGPT or the GPT engine, all it does is predict the next word. If you think about the way we converse, we will say something and then we just make up what we're saying next. And, that's kind of what it's doing. It's just predicting the next thing. And, the kind of funny thing is Google invented the transformer part of it. And then they open sourced it. They did bugger all with it, probably because they were too frightened that they couldn't make it fully controlled. And, it's not hard for it. It's based on a lot of text that will say dumb things and be wrong and be racist and all that type of stuff. So they sat on this and didn't do much. And then OpenAI, a little startup, they've got no risk and they don't have a brand to protect. And they ship it before they even know if it's very good. And Sam Altman, the boss, he said, wait, we just shipped 3.5. Like, this is the guy that used to tell or Y Combinator how to do all your marketing, do everything, do it all the right way. And he just shipped it, just wonder if anyone will use it. He said, I didn't think anyone would use it because 3.5 was so bad. I thought they were just going to tell me it was terrible, but we already had 4 built and ready. But yeah, that's the transformer part. So what is GPT from OpenAI? It is 7 years old. It is 49% owned by Microsoft. In fact, I think Microsoft probably got the deal of the century. They went in there and said, all right, you guys need cloud resources. We've got Azure, and we will support you. You give us 49%. But any profit you make, we get the profit until you've paid it all off, and then we'll own 49%. That's a great deal. Well, that's panned out pretty well. Okay. So you've got ChatGPT and you've got the OpenAI. That is got all the advanced models that we are going to use. It will generate text, it will generate images, and it will do speech recognition. So what's the engine that does the natural language text? Anyone know the engine? GPT-4. Okay, that's what that's its official name. What's the thing that does the image generation? DALL-E 2. And what's the thing that does the speech recognition? Whisper. Okay, so they're the names of the engines underneath. So the first thing you will need to do if you're going to do this is you need to go to your own OpenAI account and grab your key. Okay, so you go to that URL and then you've got your key. That's the first thing you're going to need. Okay. And the way you do that is you come in here into that URL and you hit the button create new secret key. Okay, so you click that and then you type something in there. I just typed in SSW rules. You click create secret key and you've got that, right? Then you copy that and then you're going to use this later when we get our solution up and running. Okay, now you are going to then need to decide if you're going to use Azure or OpenAI to do that. Now, if whichever way you go, your code will be slightly different. Okay, so you can have it like that, or if you're using Azure AD, which is now called Entra, that's what it will look like. Okay, so like that or like that. Okay, so if you look in our solution, we default, you would have noticed that we default you to 3.5, right? We give that because it's cheap. GPT-4 is super expensive. It is not cheap. If it's heavily hit, now we're putting it out on the internet. We just want people to use it for enjoyment. We're not trying to make any money off anything. And so we could be pounded with amount of crazy usage. So if they want better, the way we've done it with our UI is you would say use our key or use your own GPT-4 key. Okay. Now they're just the basics. Then you need to understand what are you going to do with hosting, what are you going to do with the API, what are you going to do with tokens, temperature, playground, and embeddings. These are the 6 big things to think about. All right, so you got 2 choices with hosting. You got to understand the API. You got to understand what limit of tokens, what is the temperature you want, and how to use the playground and set up embeddings. All right, so let's go through these 6 things. Hosting, you got 2 choices. Are you going to host it on OpenAI's site, which runs on Azure, or are you going to use Azure's tools? In our scenario, we typically are using Azure, but they're very, very similar. Almost the same pricing models too. So billing is almost identical. There are a couple of cases where Azure is a lot cheaper, and I'll put the link here in certain cases. Now, Azure has first-party integration with .NET. So if you're going to do C#, this is going to be nicer because you've got this NuGet package to use. Azure has potential better security and scalability because you can use Azure Virtual Networks, Azure Key Vault, Azure Monitor, Azure AD. Okay. Azure had a waitlist, and they've just removed the waitlist. And OpenAI, there's not much difference. Everybody's using it now. All right. So you can come in here and say, give me, a short summary of the differences between OpenAI's API and Azure's OpenAI API in 5 bullet points, each with 1 sentence. Otherwise, you're going to get too much info. That would help you. Now, I think the important part of here is probably the different services that you can use, but it's up to you. The hosting has encryption. Now, this next thing you need to understand is what's in that API. And in this API, there is the reference. It's just, it's not too much. You choose a model and you pass in the message. Now, there's the model, GPT 3.5 or 4. Now, there's a little bit more in the message. You can give it a role, the content, and the name. Now, with the role, you are saying whether it's the system or the user or the assistant. So the system message, remember when I talked about ChatGPT and Yuli gave context that, he has 2 kids, he lives in Sydney, etc. That was giving it context. That's almost the same here with system. Okay, that's what the system message is. So then you've got to think about the tokens. Now, you can pass a certain size of message, and there is a token tester which you can put here. Essentially, just think of it nice and simply as each word is a token. Okay, so you could basically say word count. Okay, but sometimes, like look at this word here, interconnects is actually 3 tokens. So it's not actually accurate, but it's close enough. Now you've got these limits. Now, if you're on 3.5, it's 4,000 tokens. If you're on GPT-4, it's 8,000 tokens. So you can pass through a bigger set of text and get back a potentially better answer. And GPT-4, which is going to cost money, is 32,000 tokens. Expect these to grow to gigs over the next few years. These are going to be huge. Now, there's already been an update on this, which I will tell you. We now have a new one, GPT 3.5, which is 16,000 tokens. All right. But I would still recommend GPT-4 in most business scenarios. But for free, these are good. Now, the next thing is the temperature. The temperature is between 0 and 2. And you might have even noticed it if you've used Bing. So you can ask it a question and then see down here, you've got a conversation style. Now, if you look at this bit here, either says more creative or more balanced or more precise. It defaults to the middle. So that is that other parameter you can pass, and it changes the creativity. So if you choose balance, it will not give you garbage. If you're trying to create a creative letter, or you want it to be fun and maybe hyperbole, you'll go with be creative. Okay, so I just helped a mate write a speech for his dad's 80th, and we wrote it so fast. We just met up and we're having a beer together, and he was telling me how stressed he was at this thing, this speech. Have you started? No. Well, not kidding. He had no idea that this. He thinks I'm such a computer nerd. Well, now he thinks I'm next level computer nerd. And we wrote him a speech, and you can change how creative you want this. Now, that's 2, and that's 1, and that's 0. Now, we don't know what those numbers are. I'm just making this up. because if you do pass in 2, it is actually crazy. It just tells you absolute ridiculous stuff. So it's probably more like, 1.8, and this is around 1, and this is probably 0.2. We don't know, but you can't go to extremes on this thing. Okay, so if you ask me, what is Adam Cogan from SSW doing today? If you're asking for it to be precise, it will say, well, I'm sorry, I can't find what he's doing today. He's a chief architect. He specializes in Angular and .NET. He's one of Microsoft Regional Director. Anything else you'd like to know? Now, if you change that to more balanced, it will almost say the same, which is, unfortunately, I don't know what he's doing today, right? So, but if you say be creative, it says, oh, well, he specializes in .NET and Azure. He's a Microsoft Regional Director. He blogs at this. He does interviews for SSW TV. I don't know what he's doing today, but according to his website, he's in Sydney. So he might be working on some projects with his team or attending an event or a meeting. He might be swimming at Bondi Iceberg. So obviously it's found that I'm on the Bondi Iceberg site where he's a lifetime member. He seems to be busy and active, right? So it just makes more stuff up, okay? Now, jumping into the Azure portal, now you're armed with kind of those basics. You can come in here and use this playground, and you can type in what your system message is and configure this assistant with the system message, and then see how it's working. Right, so you come in here, let's zoom in on here. There's that system message that gives the context. And then you can jump in here and say, how do I write a V2 email? Okay, so this V2 email is, I've made a mistake. How do I use this? Now, what you need it to do is give it context, because if I ask that, it's going to not know what it is because it's looking over the entire internet. We need it to say you're a bot called SSW bot. You're helpful, friendly, and funny, so it will use funny responses. You love using emojis. You'll use emojis throughout your responses. You'll answer queries that users send in, summarize them without copying verbatim. Keep them humorous, cool, and fresh. Tell a joke every now and then, Now, with this V2 email, if you want it to be correct, you need to give it some information. So how do you do this on the fly? Because I'm hard coding this in for the time being for this question to give it a good answer. And we're going to come to that. Now, this is copied from the rule, okay? And the answer that it gives is, there's the answer. So we're testing a question that a user might ask, and that's the answer. They'll never see this. This is the background stuff. All right, so that will process around. You'll go round and round and round in circles on that screen until you're getting what you want in the answers. Okay, so we've gone through all this. I've taught you all this stuff except embeddings, okay? How many people here are familiar with embeddings? Okay, so we've got 4 of you. Great. So here was my problem. We've got like 3,000 rules. My business problem was I get too many calls where people are trying to find the right rule, and I'm not very scalable. So we were looking at combining the intelligence of ChatGPT with the wisdom of everything in our rules, okay? For a client, that will be the wisdom of their intranet or all their sources. Okay, so this is the UI that they now get. How do I send that? There's your answer. So how do I send that? It says some emojis. Ahoy there. So you want to know how to do this? No worries, I got you covered. So it's nice and friendly. Then it gives you, as per this rule, this is what you got to do. Now they can always click on that if they want to get there. All right, so there's the link. Okay, and that takes you to here. Now let's talk about this missing piece called embeddings. All right, so embeddings. There was my normal image, but if I go to Midjourney, I get a better image. Isn't that nice? So I just gave it a command. Give me an image for embeddings that would show all the pieces with a vector database in our company colors, and that's what it gave me. All right, so explain the concept of embeddings so simply that an idiot could understand. Not that I am one, this is merely a hypothetical exercise. You know how it's always remembering? I didn't want it to always remember I was an idiot, so I made sure it was just hypothetical. So it says, imagine you got a box of differently shaped Legos, you want to sort them. This is what embeddings is. So I'm looking at that, trying to understand it. And it's kind of trying to say, well, you put the colors in this area and the shapes, and that's a different color, it's a different shape. So that's kind of what it's trying to say. Okay, that's what I understood was from its answer. Embeddings could be more like, and by the way, this is another Mid-Journey image generated to try to explain what embeddings are, because it's not very easy. It's not like a two-dimensional thing like that image I just showed you. It's more like a multi-dimensional space of 1,536 dimensions. So it's like a complicated concept of what embeddings are. So 2 points comes into a 1,500 dimension vector. And if you remember maths back in high school, it's kind of using cosine to compare the closeness of different documents, in our case, what we're talking about. So this is what would happen. You'd pass in some text. For example, somebody might say, how do we do daily scrums at SSW? So you type in daily scrum, goes through an embedding model, and it gets these numbers, these words turn into numbers. In fact, 1,500 numbers. Okay, I know this is a little bit complicated. We're going to get to it in a sec. That is another image I got from Mid-Journey. That is kind of what embeddings looks like. So what we're going to do is throw all our documents into this database, not a SQL database, okay, a vector database, and it's going to look at all the words in each document and give it all numbers on each like little section of words, and you're going to get similarities. So let's have a look at this. All right, so it's going to compare all this. So they're all SSW rules, and that's kind of what it looks like. This is not kind of what it looks like at all, because don't forget it's 1,500 dimensions, and I'm just looking like a flat thing. But that email rule is over here with other ones. Now, if I looked at something more standard, we have a lot of rules on Scrum, because we like to do Scrum the same way throughout the company. And that is, the Scrum guide. What are the important points in the Scrum guide that we care about? And there's a whole bunch of other rules that would be very close to that. Okay, so hopefully that's useful. Okay, so just for your information, if you want to know how to turn your documents into something like this to show your boss, the package we found was some Python package that did that. Okay, so just flatten out our database to show a representation. So you probably come across this all the time. You have a whole bunch of disorganized documents in an intranet. You use text clustering, and it would group it into technology documents or entertainment documents or sports documents. Whatever your company does, you can categorize them into lots of different things. So if you think about Google image search, it groups lots of all the stuff over the internet in lots of different groupings, and there's a URL here talks about how it does that and how it's so fast. But these, if you use Netflix and you watch Breaking Bad, it's going to recommend that you watch, if you watch Narcos, it's going to say watch Surviving Escobar. And this is using a vector database that if you like this, you're going to like this, because they're all grouped together. All right. Now, this is what I found fascinating. I didn't understand this, because this is fantastic. If you, I don't know Chinese, okay? But the word for and the word, these characters in Chinese are the same, and it groups all language terms in the same place. They all end up with very similar numbers. So it's really going to help the world communicate better in terms of, translations, okay? A certain, gee, this amazing video one of our guys did called Callum, and he did this little video where he, what did he do? He passed in, he got the answer in English. He translated that English to Chinese. He asked the same question in our engine in Chinese, and it recommended the same document. I thought it was fascinating. Yeah. Anyway, so uses of embeddings and chatbots is one. Now, vector databases. Here is our vector database. So there's a whole bunch of vector databases that you can use. Pinecone, Milvus, Postgres, Weaviate, Redis. Postgres is on SQL. and you can use that. There it is. You can create a database. All these databases are going to end up with vector plugins, I think. So expect that's going to be a big growing market. We use Supabase just as a quick, simple vector database, and it was up and running. And it was free. All right. So if you want to look inside that database at a rule, here is a rule called 8 Steps to Scrum, and here's all the embeddings for that. Okay. So every rule turns into a whole bunch of numbers, and we're going to query that. So they're very fast, and you can really integrate your embeddings data with ChatGPT. And let's have a look at that. So this is our rules bot. So you come in here and you type, how do I send a V2 email? And you'll get your answer. Now, I want you to understand, when we first started doing this, we were doing it in 3.5. How does SSW use GPT? Great question. Uses it like this, and you'll find that this is fast, but terrible answers. If I ask that same question here, how does SSW use GPT? And I'm using GPT-4 now. I know it's costing me money, but here's the exact same answer. You can compare yourself, that answer versus this answer. Every answer, every test that we did, GPT-4 was miles better. So it depends what you want to do. All right, here's another example. What are the best ways to implement Scrum within your company? And we put an answer there of 3.5, and there is the other answer. Now, the other thing is it's a lot better in terms of humor as well. Like the answers are more accurate and they're more fun. Okay. Now, here's the thing that I hate about GPT 3.5. I said, show me some rules to better woodworking, which obviously we don't have. We have no rules on woodworking and no expertise in our company. It says, sure, thing, I'm happy to help. Unfortunately, it doesn't contain any, but here is a good rule to read. It made up a URL. So not only does it give, it's a liar as well. Okay, so rules to better woodworking. Let's ask GPT-4. Oh, wood. You look at, would you look at that? Isn't that funny? Would you look at that? Do you get the joke? It seems like we don't have any specific rules on woodworking in our reference data, but hey, don't worry, here's some general tips. So it goes out to the internet and says, hey, number one, safety first. Keep your workspace clean. Measure twice, cut once, etc. So it's just smarter and doesn't give you BS answers. Okay. Draft an email for a colleague is to change some content on their people profile. GPT 3.5 again gives a rubbish URL that doesn't work. And this is a much better answer for the same question. Okay, so you can have a look at those if you like later, but they're miles better. Okay, so I would encourage you to go to our rules, click on the ChatGPT and try it out and see yourself the difference between 3.5 and 4, just on our test data. But under the covers, what's going on is the user types a prompt, okay, what they're after. Our API calculates the closest matching rules by looking up the embeddings database. And then the system prompt is supplied with the top 10 rules based on what they just asked, because we don't know what the right answer is. And we pass those 10 rules into the system message, and then the system message and their question is sent to the GPT service. It comes back to our UI. And by the way, that UI that I showed you, where is this UI? If you click on this, we did this we did in Next.js first, and then we did it in Blazor. So this is a Blazor UI, and obviously we're managing state in this. Now, the only caveat here is as we add more rules, we have to update our database. Okay. Now, don't you think it was funny that GPT, like ChatGPT, was released, and they released it on a data set that was 2 years old? Like, when we develop systems, one of the first things we do is we worry about data and how we keep it up to date, how we're going to do the migration from one version to another. But yeah, these guys just wasn't that important. All right, so now I want to talk about costs. Now, if you think about how much this is going to cost, in our case, a couple of developers, 2 weeks, let's say $200 an hour, $32,000 to develop a solution like that. And then you've got the ongoing cost, whether you go for 3.5 or 4. So let's just assume that's $40 a month. Okay. Now, I'm just basing this on 100 employees using it twice a day. Okay, I'm not really sure the usage of how this would work. Now, this was just an example of our usage and how much we spent, but we've spent $7. Okay, so it's not expensive in our scenario, but we're not got tens of thousands of users. We'll get more. Now, I want to show you something else. All right, everyone stand up because you might be tired. I want you to be ready for this one. This is quite different. Everyone stand up. Stretch to the left. Stretch to the right. Stretch back to the left. All right, now, all right, everyone sit down. I'm going to tell you a new option that has just been released. This is not going to be for everyone, but it's worth knowing. Okay. Now, our company is a company full of coders, like .NET coders, but there is a whole lot of solutions we've been doing for clients in the last year or two, which we call low-code solutions or Power Platform solutions. All right. Microsoft have Dynamics, they have Power Automate, Power Apps. They've got a bunch of these very fast, but you're stuck in a bit of a straitjacket, but you can get stuff done quickly. And this is becoming a big area in terms of we're producing a lot of stuff. We'd have a smaller team, around getting close to 10 guys doing this, but they're churning out a lot of stuff, but you end up with licensing costs and other things. In the keynote that was just released in the last, what was the conference? Wasn't Inspire? Build. Okay, so at Build. So I'm going to call this the Viking one. I just made it up. And I'm going to do the same thing, but using their virtual agents. So they have the Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate. They also have Power Virtual Agents. They probably should have called it Power Bots. That would have been a better name. Or Power, Anyway, so you can have a look at this. You can instantly feed it your data and end up with this. So I just want you to see how this works. You come into this Power Virtual Agents from Microsoft, and other companies are going to have similar things. But you come in here and you go create a bot, and then it would say, build for production. Now, by the way, this was in beta, but this is now released. And so you click on this unified canvas, and you come in here, you give it a name. So we'll say, all right, so we want it to look at ssw.com.au/rules. It will go and kind of scrape that. So you pass that in, you give it all the different sources. So in a normal company, you're going to say, well, here's the Dynamics database, here's the intranet, here's my OneDrive, So then so if you look closely, let me just go back. What have they put here as a sample? So they put, there's our public website, there's our SharePoint, there's our OneDrive, and they've passed in the company's major data sources. And then you just ask it, hey, what beverages are available? I'm a new employee, what's there? Or you can put it on their website, and their website is going to start answering all questions. And don't forget, this is 24/7, consistent, fast responses. No employee can do anything like this, helping on one of those chat agents. Most websites have these chat agents. Hi, I'm a virtual assistant. Well, what do you have? Well, we have this, and here's a link, and we have this, and here's a link, and it's you can just imagine most companies are going to want this, and it's going to be quick for you to get up and running. You probably don't need all the skills I've taught you tonight, but you'll have a solution quickly. And you can make all these little plugins, which are these little pieces of logic that will go off and call other services in your company. You'll probably do these like you build an Azure function. So you can say, all right, so they're sometimes saying, what's the weather going to be like? If it's a travel site, that would matter. So you could say, all right, so that I'm noticing people asking about what's the weather going to be like on this cruise ship or whatever. And you can come in here and start putting custom pieces of logic in their plugins. So this was their old UI to have a look at this in the old Power Virtual Agents. And now this is what you're looking at. So as you do this, you're testing, and it said, like, here's the example. What last minute cruise options do you have next week to the Bahamas? And what's the weather like there at the moment? So you see that and you realize, okay, so I'm missing a little piece of the information, and this is the debugging experience. And then it will realize I don't have the port of departure. So then you need to, it will automatically ask the user, where are you departing from? So this is how it's working its logic through. Fascinating. That's potentially things that you can see power users are going to get up and running, and then they're going to call a real developer and say, help me out on this. And you go, oh, whoa, what is this? And this is going to be your experience. Okay. And if you ask me, it reminds me of query plans, a little bit, seeing what's happening under the covers. So this is, they also have a trace mode where you can follow what's, how did it execute this? Just watch what it did, okay? And this is in Power Virtual Agents. Now, I was just thinking about the costs, and the costs are a little fuzzy and not that easy to compare apples and apples. But let's just say to do that takes 2 developers 2 days. Like, theoretically, they get their whole thing up and running in about half an hour. But you want to play around and test lots of things. That's a $6,400 solution. You got the ongoing cost of Power Virtual Agents, and that price varies. But they have a GPT add-on. So if you're going to say $2,000 a month for 4,000 sessions, you can compare custom versus PVA. Custom might be pay a lot up front because you've got to learn all the things that I taught you tonight, or you can do this solution much quicker. All this stuff is going to cost money because GPT-4 is not that cheap. But these are some of the pros and cons you're going to consider. Okay, any questions on this? All right, who looking at this leans a lot more to developing a solution for a large company this way? And okay, we've got a quarter. How many people lean towards the PVA solution? A bit less probably. And so that means most of you have no friggin' idea what you would choose. Okay, fair enough. It depends. All right, Matt, you're a consultant. Grab the mic and tell me what your thoughts are on this one and this one. I'm interested.
I think they're both viable and valid options, but they have different use scenarios. And I think the option on the left is suitable for a robust enterprise solution, whether it's going to be used by thousands of users internally or going to be public facing. The option on the right, I think, is aligned with what all of the Power Platform stuff is for, in my opinion, which is citizen developers. So this is for knowledge workers who want to do a little bit of automation around what they do. But it's not going to be, in my view, suitable for building a large enterprise solution, especially not one that's going to be consumer facing.
Right. Okay. I'm mostly aligned with you. I would say that when you turn up to a client, you are probably, I think, going to start off just throwing a few sources of data into this guy, testing it out while you're building a proper solution. And you've kind of got these two guys on the run, and finding out any problems with your data at the same time, and doing this and letting people give you more information the more they're seeing it, and that's refining what is in your system message, etc. Yes, sir.
I was just going to say that 3 years is a long time in this, in terms of development, and your large language model is not going to be costing you 72 grand.
Oh, yeah,
in a few months.
Yeah, no, these prices are going to come down quickly. Yes, yes, right.
And look, I might just talk a bit about your 3.5 versus 4 as well. GPT-4 is its cutoff date is also the same as 3.5. So you must be going and looking up the internet when it does that.
Yeah, you're totally correct. They're both based
in
on the exact same data. Yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we've tested a lot of 3.5 versus 4, and the difference for most applications is not that great.
Oh, well, then I'll definitely dispute that one because we've done a lot of testing ourselves as well. And our experience is, yes, it's based on the same data, but we are passing not the internet's data generally. We're passing in our data from our clients, our custom data sources. And GPT 3.5 just gives too many nonsensical answers repetitively. And when GPT-4 is smart and slow. Yeah. And I think most people will always want 4. It just depends whether it's cost prohibitive. But, it doesn't like, yeah, you're right. The most important point that you're saying is this price is coming down fast and the capabilities are going up fast. That's the most important thing. All right. So yes, look, doing these calcs is difficult, but it's still useful to do because it just makes you think a bit. But yeah, it doesn't take much. Thank you for pointing out the flaw in my 3-year plan. Okay, so there it is. We got a lot done with low effort, and we got a high ROI. And I think we've covered all these things. Plus, we've covered a PVA solution for you to think about. And look, I just showed you Microsoft's one. There's a bunch of these coming, and they're getting solid. And there's going to be some really good solutions out there. So look, I've just put in the pros and cons. Custom, upfront dollars to get the thing running. It's difficult. It is, you can customize the hell out of it, and that's what big companies generally want. PVA is low upfront cost, but it's going to cost more in a monthly cost. The functionality is good, but it's just not as customizable. And I think the big thing is how much to maintain this thing. This is harder to maintain, and this is easy to maintain because basically Microsoft are doing all the stuff for you in the background. Okay, so anyway, good. I would build an MVP in a PVA and then do a custom solution at the same time. So the future of AI, well, soon it looks like we're going to be able to get it to do almost anything. We can get it pretty much now to, well, our French friend is getting it to write blogs. You can get it to write a book. You can get it to develop a full software application. Okay, almost. So there are a bunch of other competitors, Google, Meta, and IBM. They're all doing huge stuff with this. Everybody's investing. This is a gold rush. There is also one people aren't thinking about, but that's Tencent in China. Their AI is going to be much stronger in many areas. Okay. Now, we've got this thing called Auto GPT, and you can give it a broad task, like build me a website that sells shoes. It will break down all those tasks, execute every single one, and keep coming back and combine the results. It can write the code, it can clone the code, edit it, push a PR, accept the PR. It will run commands like build and test. It will read, it'll see a bug, and then fix its bug. You can give it feedback yourself, and it will add that in, but it will do a lot of stuff itself. Basically, you got a developer over here, you got an agent over here. The developer defines the PBIs, and then that developer might turn into the product owner. That might turn into the CEO, and then he gets rid of all the developers and all the product owners. And the GPT agent picks up the PBIs, which are tasks, sorry. And then it will ask questions for the things it doesn't understand. You'll answer those questions. The GPT agent will clone the repo, do all its code, and the developer will probably be there to look at the code that's being generated, see if it's crazy. Might accept the pull request, so it's kind of keeping on top, but then it won't be too long before it doesn't understand what's going on. You just keep accept. Sam Altman says, I think we're at the end of the era where it's going to be these like giant models. I love how he's put like in here. You can see he's a young guy. These like giant models. So he's believing that, yes, we've made these massive models like GPT, but from here on in, there's going to be a model for this and a model for that. if you get an X-ray of your spine or something, there'll be a model for that. So you'll pass in your model, so you can pass in your X-ray, and you get specific feedback on, from that. You wouldn't just generally pass it to, a very large language model. Now, what will probably happen is those large language models, like you go to ChatGPT, it will then say, well, based on that, you probably want to use this, or it might auto choose the right one. Anyway, there is the QR code. If you want to scan that and give any feedback or earn those points, you can scan that. In summary, we have covered the news, how to use ChatGPT from just the website and prompt engineering, getting up to speed with the engine underneath, using a vector database with embeddings. I've gone through how we built our rules bot, and we've talked a little bit about the future. Basically, AI is going to do almost everything, okay, except woodworking. Thank you. Any questions?
Can you go back to the QR code so people have time to scan it?
Oh, thank you, Seth. All right. Any questions in the meantime? Yes, are you taking up woodworking?
Recently on the news, there was that GPT-4 has gotten lazier and GPT 3.5 hasn't. What's causing that?
Well, yeah, that was definitely interesting. So these models are evolving in ways they don't understand. Sam Altman was talking about how he couldn't work out how they hadn't trained it in some Indian language, and it picked it up and learnt it perfectly based on like the large language model that's there, but it was able to pick up meaning and become very smart at that language. They also don't fully understand why, in some cases it's getting slower and dumber. Yeah, I don't think it's substantial enough to think it's on a downward path, but it is kind of funny. You see all the developers, using Stack Overflow much less. Like if you've seen the tank of the stats are crazy. They just tank off. Now, if everybody is using AI and they're not going to Stack Overflow, they're not commenting, they're not doing much stuff, then we're not going to get any smarter, are we? We're probably just going to be stuck in this one data set. That would be not very good, but I don't think that's going to happen. The problem probably is going to be more like everybody using AI to generate things like, there's not a lot of original thinking. We had to change our entire employment test at SSW because we did some tests and it wasn't that hard to do the entire test in ChatGPT. So we changed our tests, especially for all the admins, where the whole test is using GPT. So write a letter, testing their English, write a letter, show us your GPT prompt, and show us how much you cut it down so it's nice, succinct, and readable. This is going to be very difficult, especially for education. There's no way you can give someone a take-home test and think that they did it by themselves. It's impossible now. So they got real troubles. Now, in the case of my daughter's university, they just say, go for it. You're allowed to use GPT. Other universities are saying it's illegal to use it and you'll be chucked out. And I think it was NYU. They said, no, you're not using it. One of those, New York universities. But everyone's going to be different.
We have a question from Matt Goldman.
Thank you. So I think there's two different things here, right? There's GPT, which is a large language model, and then there's ChatGPT, right? And ChatGPT is a user interface for this large language model that is friendly, and it makes people think that they're having a conversation with, something that is actually self-aware and alive, and it's not, right? So even the, as you said earlier, it's a predictive text model, right? So even the chat engine that you're using is still a predictive text model, but it's doing it in a way that makes it seem like it's conversational, right? It's a conversational AI. That's what they call it, right? Now, what you've just said, I think, is a really good point, which is that it's not doing any original thinking. It's not creating anything new. It's just predicting what it thinks the next word's going to be based on its data set and based on the prompts you've given it. So the reason I say this is I'm thinking about something you said earlier, which is that, you know, we're all going to be prompt engineers, and you started listing all these professions except woodworking, which are going to be prompt engineers. The thing is, right, I think anyone who works in IT, any form of IT, software developers, whatever, and probably lots of other professions as well, at least for the last 20 years, we're all just professional Googlers, right? And anyone who doesn't think of themselves as a professional Googler is deluding themselves. So what makes this, what's the difference between this? I mean, it's the next evolution. It's another tool in our toolbox. We'll be using, as professionals, we'll use it as a tool, just like we use Google now. Is this that big a difference? Is it just another tool in our box, or is this really changing the game?
Well, I would tell you that like that's really good context, because it is putting it in perspective. I guess that's why I don't, based on everything I've seen so far and everything that I've read, that we're not getting the scary robot style out of control stuff. Like the most it can do is just generate a whole lot of text, but you could possibly find a way that it could go crazy, right? There is, like, you know, obviously Sam Altman is saying we're not sure, you know, we're undecided. But in terms of a tool that everybody in a company can use, it is better than anything else. Anything close. Like, we've seen a lot of cool stuff in the last 20, 30 years, but this is really something special. You know, I think if you're an image generator, like, you know, you're a graphic designer, you must be excellent at prompts. Like, it's essential. It's too important. If you're like, there's not many, like, a data scientist must have shivers down their spine with how close and how a power user can do probably more than what they can do in, you know, that of course they know it deeper, but just getting basic answers for CEOs, they can do that miles faster. And yeah, I think it's like every company should have a team just doing this, you know. I think it's really important. Yes. Can we get the mic?
Is it worth each small company kind of going out of their way in the short term to make these in-house custom solutions, when we kind of all talk about how fast this space is moving? Like, isn't there a chance you'll just be leapfrogged by some larger private company, and then you did all this work, custom in-house solution is ditched, and then you just adopt internally, you know, whatever, maybe Microsoft will have something, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question, because nobody likes waste. And, you know, we've been working on these solutions for a long time, and we you know, our developers never use vector databases. But this stuff is, once you've done it a couple of times, it's not that scary. I know you've taken in a lot of information tonight, but it is like, once you've done it a couple of times, it's not that scary. It is, yeah, it's some new concepts, but too important to not have people exploring, you know. It's very wasteful if you're not doing it, really, you know. Okay.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Adam, for your fantastic presentation, and all the SSW guys rock, actually.
Oh, thank you.
So actually, I think they say one of the issues that the company I'm working for is facing is that we are using AWS. So basically, our technology is based on Linux, on AWS. So, but many technology stacks here is just Microsoft based, like Azure and all the APIs. And I know something called LangChain, and then maybe you can do something that's similar to that. But what do you recommend for we Linux guys or AWS guys to do with it, with this OpenAI stuff?
Look, I'm going to be biased because we do most solutions in .NET. But doing it in .NET, especially .NET 8, is what is very easy to deploy to AWS. In fact, Matt was telling me today how AWS are the ones investing in the converters for the .NET, the 3.5, 3.6, or 4.5, 4.6 solutions to .NET 8, which is easy to run on AWS and it's Linux based. So they're investing potentially as much as Microsoft or even more in helping people get those C# solutions to .NET 8 to get them on Azure. To get them on AWS. So you can do everything that, everything we can do in .NET, you can do it even if you're not using Azure. It's not dependent upon that.
Yeah, thank you. So I have another question. So you mentioned testing a little bit. So if I put ChatGPT, it uses OpenAI stuff, and it provides me the answer. For example, if I just want ChatGPT on OpenAI to generate some SQL statements or command, it can provide answer. For example, what is the revenue of last month, something. And do you know any better ways to test it, whether the answer is accurate or you just make up the answer? Because sometimes it just make up the answer.
Well, from what I understand, you're using AI to generate the SQL statement.
Yeah, just by prompt engineering.
Yes, but you're querying your own data. The only problem that you're going to have is if the SQL statement is no good.
Yeah.
So you're just going to have the same.
So we have to just manually to check whether the SQL is correct or not.
Yes, and you should run it, and then you should have some very simple answers, and you can have tests that are good and bad. You could have automated UI tests that test, so that if you botch the SQL statement, you will know that it's now giving incorrect results. You have a positive and a negative automated test, and you should be good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hi, thanks for your speech tonight. What about certifications for ChatGPT and prompt engineering? Are they going to come? Are they on the horizon?
Yeah, they are. And the certifications are really important. A whole bunch of our guys have already done them. Of course, they're semi-out of date already, I guess. AI 102 is probably one of the best exams you can do. It's on the Microsoft stack there. In fact, I would tell you, if you're a young guy and you're going to try to come into a software engineering firm and become good, you're not going to keep up with some of these guys that have been using C# for years. It's going to be really hard. And so you can come in and try to do a C#, or some of the Azure exams and stuff, but it's going to be a while before you are even rating with any of the other guys. You might be at least speaking the same language. However, if you're a young guy, I would say go and start learning AI, do the AI 102 exam, and all right, so you got that, in your skill set, and now you're helping the senior engineers because there's areas that deeper than them, and you're helping very experienced engineers who haven't got across all this new stuff. And you're biding your time to slowly know all the basics. You don't need to get as deep with, say, C# or all the 100 web frameworks when you're helping them in the other areas. And as you can see, with the specific data stuff, if you were to learn how all this new OneLake technology works with Microsoft Fabric and other, there's a lot of these from competitors as well, because people's data is getting enormous, and it doesn't take, right now, all companies want to do is store every single tiny thing that happens with every customer, every interaction, whatever, because they now know that it's not that hard to query all this stuff. So, being in the data world is more interesting than ever. They're controlling a lot of stuff.
I just wanted to know if you'd implemented the vector database and query solution for any other external companies, and how that went. Because it's always much easier doing your own, but
look, this is brand new. We're right at the beginning stages of this. We've got a whole bunch of clients that are doing little proof of concepts. It was kind of funny. One of the guys I just mentioned before, Callum, put up a couple of videos just because he was doing what the French guy was doing, just auto-generating a blog about tea. And the amount of people from around the world that said, help me with doing something similar was amazing. Like, the demand for this is sky high right now. Everybody's trying to just do some of the basics to understand what they can do with their current data. What answers are they going to get? And all companies want to do it. In fact, they're probably all frightened that if we're using any of this, are we losing any of our data? What leakage are our employees doing? What training do we do? Do we just block it all down? Like, it's a massive change.
Thanks for a great presentation, Adam. Just a little update. Probably want to update your presentation to include woodwork. I asked ChatGPT if it could create me a coffee table with my CNC lathe and laser cutter, and it's given me full instructions, including feed rate, components, measurements, everything ready to go. So it's actually pretty good for woodwork as well.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. Yes, yeah. I guess my facetious comment there was the physical jobs are the things that there's no indication it's really nailing. Like, we see little baby bits and pieces. We're seeing some cool stuff. Just the fact that you can, I guess watching this war with Ukraine and Russia and the amount of drone usage, the amount of like some of that stuff ends up feeding back into useful things, and you'll start seeing drones doing other things, cleaning all windows, and there'll be a lot of useful things that comes out of the physical stuff. But we're not, I guess we're focused on the text generation, the image generation at the moment. But I think you're safe with woodworking. All right, is that a wrap? Have we got one more?
Quick one from me, and I think there's actually one on the live stream as well.
Okay.
Do you really think it can write a book?
Well, I saw how long you took to write a book, Goldie, and I saw how much pain you went through getting that book out. I think it would be a lot faster and a lot less pain if you had to use ChatGPT. Yes, although you had to do stuff on new builds all the time. Yeah, it wouldn't have been possible. Yes, but some of the best-selling books are the old tech. Yeah. All right, what's the live stream question?
So I'm not sure if you already answered this or not. The question is, what is the best code migration plugin?
From what to what?
That's all we have.
Oh, I Google it. That's what I'll do. Yeah.
That would be something you ask it.
Yeah, I think they should read our rules to better prompt engineering and give more context of what they're asking. Thanks, guys. I speak at places all around the world, and Newcastle has an amazing community. I think you should be very lucky that you have Clay doing this for so long. You got Pete and David helping every now and then. Yeah, they've done an amazing community for so long. You guys are phenomenal. We started an office here because the experience of doing user groups, I've been doing user groups for these guys for a long time, is always good. And, you give a better crowd than Sydney, Melbourne, Singapore. It's just amazing. They keep this community going, and I think you should be very grateful. They do it for free. They do it all the time. They're very reliable. Yeah, and they're a good little team. Yeah, so thank you very much. Yeah, since 2006. Yeah. All right. Yeah. 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 Oh, Rochi, you turned up for the first time for a while. Gee. So there is a custom. If you don't know the custom, we go down to a. We allowed to talk about it. Some speakeasy. It's a secret, but it's just down the road here, and we have a little secret chat. We keep our voices down low, and sometimes, if you're lucky, they will serve you whiskey. Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah. I worked for a company called SIBO, and I was the GM there. He just recently left. And I thought he was great.
He's from Melbourne.
Yeah. I just moved up here from Melbourne.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
So I came here.
yeah, no, he's a great guy. Yeah.
You putting your slides on your website?
Yes, and this will go up on SSW as well. It's, yeah, it'll be on.
It's a process to
Was it heavy?
Yeah, I'm not really a coder, so I'm a mechanical engineer. So